Hi, and welcome back to the class. R for journalists. We are now into the section of customizing ggplot2 charts because we're moving on past exploratory data visualization, and now we're getting to the point where we want to make charts that we can publish, share online, and show off to others. So let's bring in that data again. Library reader. And ages is the data, is the object I want to create. Read underscore CSV, and it's data / ages.csv. For me, it might be something different for you. And I need to set the working directory, but I'll just type it out in here. Okay, this is my data. It's very similar. It's exactly what it was before. So let's make that dot plot we made earlier. Library ggplot2. And ggplot2 function, ages, comma, AES, x equals actress age, y equals movie, plus geom point. Okay, it's not that great, right? For one thing, it's in reverse alphabetical order. Let's reorder this based on age. So this means we need to transform this data. And the easiest way to do that is with this library called forcats, which, surprise, created by Hadley Wickham. It's part of the tidyverse universe. I'm going to explain what tidyverse is, and that is that suite of packages that Hadley Wickham has created and others have contributed to, like ggplot2, readr, forcats, dplyr, tidyr. Those are all part of the tidyverse, is how people call it, because it works with tidy data. So, forcats, which I think is like an anagram for factors. So the function that we're going to use is fact._reorder. And let's bring in forcats first. If you don't have it installed yet, do install.packages forcats. Oh, yeah. For example, I have to install it myself. I'll send you type out the function correctly. Okay, so the function is fct reorder, and it looks like that. And so you've got factor to reorder is the first thing you pass it, and the second variable you pass is variable to order by, and then you can pass other stuff like function to reorder by, or whether or not it should be reordered in descending order or ascending order. So we can do this all within ggplot. So I'll just comment this out because this is not a real command for now. So ggplot ages, AES, x equals actress age, and y, remember we wanted to reorder the y. So this is where we pass that variable, fact reorder. And so we pass in what we want to reorder, which is movie. But now we add the stuff that we want to reorder by, which is actress age. And descending is true. And then add geom point. Take a look at that. Very clean, right? So I can always just reverse that by doing descending equals false, or I can take out descending altogether, and the default is, I guess, true. So let me undo that and do descend equals false. Oh, I also undid geom point. Let me put that back. This is giving me issues. Maybe I need to wrap it. There we go. So it was kind of like the dplyr arrange, right? Where if we want to make something descend in arranging order, then we have to wrap that. Okay, so that's how you do that. Okay, so that's not a bad looking chart, but we can tweak it even more. Let's turn this into a lollipop chart. So all we have to do is just repurpose the code from before. And I'm going to take out descending and do ascending this time. And ascending is the default. And instead of before I do geom point, I'm going to add a layer underneath that. That's called geom underscore segment. And how this works, you start with the AES. Just lining it up so it's clean. And I want a lollipop. So all the X, it should start on the X at 0. And then Y is going to be the age, which of course is the factory order thing. So I'm going to copy that just because you can. That's the whole beauty of reproducible analysis. Comma X. And this time I'm going to add an X end equals actress age, comma, Y end is the same thing. As Y. And then, comma, actually I need to comma that. Okay, after the aesthetics, I'm going to add comma, color, because I want the color to be the same, equals gray 50 plus geom point. Okay, I can get rid of these. Okay, do all the parentheses line up? Fortunately, when you kind of select on one, it highlights where it ends, where it thinks it ends, and the matching one. So fortunately, there's no floating one, I think. So let's give this a run. I was wrong. There's a parenthesis missing. Where is this parenthesis? Da, 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 da. Aha. I think it's there. Yep. I gotta put that parenthesis right there. Sorry, it took me a little bit. Did I forget to add this object to a ggplot? Maybe I did. Ages, X equals actress age, Y equals factor. Plus geom segment. That AES. X, comma, 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 color equals gray plus geom point. It's because the continuation of the code before that was messing up. Okay. And there we go. It's a lollipop chart. Looks interesting, right? If we wanted to publish this on a website or share on social media, we'll need to clean up the labels and add a title and add a source line, which is easy to do. It's just adding extra layers of code. So all we do is just add to the line, and we use a function called labs, which is short for labels. And then this is where you can pass X for labeling the X axis, and we will call that actress age, pass it a string. And Y is going to be called movie. And the title of of the chart we just is called title, and we pass it, let's see, actress ages in movies. Subtitle is the subtitle, pretty much the headline underneath the headline, equals for R and R for journalist class, comma, and caption. That's where this caption will show up on the bottom right of the gotta type with that. Caption equals data from vulture.com and IMDb. And then plus, finally, I'm gonna give it this thing called theme minimal. So you see, let's see. So right away you've got some options like theme classic, theme dark, theme get, theme gray, theme light. So let me show you what theme minimal does and run this code. Very pretty, right? It got a lot of the gray background. It cleaned up some of the text. It added the titles. It added the y-axis title, the x-axis title, the captions. Very cool. So we added a lot of information just through this stuff like labs and theme minimal. Let's just show you what other themes there were. Theme dark. Not that great. So I just wanted to show you there are options. You can customize themes yourself. And we'll go over that in this section eventually. So we can still clean it up even more. We don't have to stop here. Let's say we want to get rid of, let's see that again. What if we wanted to get rid of these grids on the bottom, on the right? We can do that. And some of these lines. So we just go back to the code. Under theme minimal, add a plus again. New layers of code. And this time we're going to do, like, what if we wanted to also add, this is a little bit difficult to read, like you have to see all the way down to see the ages, the numbers. So let's add a label of the number of the age next to each dot. That'd be readable. So to do that, we add geom_text. And AES, what we want to map is label. And the label will be the actress age. And I'm going to add an adjustment because otherwise it would just plant the number right on top of that dot. So we need to move it a bit. And you can play around with this eventually because each chart will be a little different depending on the data. So for this one, I already know that's going to be -0.5 for this to work. And then I want to get rid of some of those grids, right? So to get rid of that, you got to go to theme and panel.border. We want to get rid of, and to do that, we call it element blank, comma, panel.grid.major. Major grid panels, we want element blank. Panel grid.minor equals, of course, you know it, element blank. And then axis line equals element blank. And then axis dot text dot x equals element blank. And why am I doing this? That's because we don't need these ages then if we're going to put a label up there, right? You got to think about redundancy and just how to make it look pretty. So there's a lot of code here, but it all lines up, right? And it all builds on what you built on previously as you were exploring the data. Wow, that's a pretty impressive chart, right? You like it? So we've added geom_text, we messed with the theme, we passed the actress age to the variable, we use hJust to adjust where it should be, and theme, we got rid of a lot of the grids and a lot of these ticks. So next, all we gotta do is save it. So you can use the function simply ggSave. And this is all separate from this, right? You don't have to do a plus. What it does, ggSave will save the last plot that you created and output it to whatever file format you want. And there's quite a few. You've got PNGs, TEX files, PDFs, JPEGs, TIFFs, BMPs, and SVGs. Now, a lot of data visualization people, when they're making static graphics, they'll make it an R and then export it as a PDF or an SVG, because they can then edit it in Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape. Because what you can do after you bring it into Illustrator is then you can kind of adjust the text more, you can change the font more specifically, you can add a little bit more spacing between the lines. It's very comprehensive what you can do. So let me give you an example. So let's GG save this as actressages.png. So you see it saved it as a specific size. That's something to kind of keep in mind. Let me see if I can pull this up. And there it is. It saved it as actresses PNG, and it looks like, oh, it looks pretty bad. That's the default size, because it saves it based on whatever was in your display right here to your bottom right. It needs some adjustment. So we can't go with the default display for export. And the way you can do that is you can add these arguments for width and height and the units of measurement. So I'm going to change the width to 20 and the height to be taller. I'll make that 30. And I want the units of measurement to be centimeters. So I can do millimeters measurement or centimeters of measurement, or even meters, I think. So let me give that a shot again. Let me and it refreshed for me. And this is now based on these new adjustments I made. This is the chart it just spit out. And it's much cleaner. It gives out nice spacing. I didn't have to mess with the font at all. It's quite nice. Okay. I am going to now show you how to save it as an SVG. Actually, before we move on. Actually, yeah. Let me do one last chart before we move on. Let's first, because we've got an idea here, right? We've got a lollipop. We've got the ages here. What if we added ages for men in here, right? That would be interesting to see if we could put another variable in. That'll take a little bit more time, so I'm going to save that for the next video. So we've gone through a lot of steps to style the data and how to export your ggplot. So I'll see you in the next section where we can dive into it even more.